Littering our beaches is unacceptable.
Hello and welcome to the Mark and Pete Show. Yes, large amounts of rubbish is piling up on Britain's beaches. Yes, from Teesside to Cardiff to Bournemouth, huge piles of detritus is just simply overwhelming the councils. Is this acceptable? Revellers are just simply dumping their beer cans and leaving all their rubbish and effluents everywhere. And yet the sun seems to be affecting people's minds. Is this a good thing? Why don't people just simply stay away? And it's not just about leaving the rubbish on our beaches. It's also about understanding the distancing laws of COVID-19. Why are people just simply ignoring the law? Well, not only that, there are even people going out selling their wares, whether it be ice creams, burgers, and much more, but the piles of rubbish still keep coming. Yes, she sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells simply smells, I'm sure. So if she sells a litter swells on the seashore, I'm sure that what she sells is an eyesore. Clergyman Pete, I ask you, the piles of rubbish are just simply mounting. What is going on with all of the minds of Britons? Why are we rubbishing our beaches?
Well, businessman Mark, it's actually a perennial question. I mean, people litter beaches, litter sites that you would have thought would be better kept, sites of natural beauty, places where people are going to want to stop for a picnic. And, there is a habit of people just to be lazy and not take their rubbish home with them. But in this case, what we've just seen a spate of really bad cases of leaving litter behind on the beaches. Near where I live, there's a beach with dunes and then some ground behind known as the dips, which literally dip down. I think there were bathing pools many years ago, but they're just dips of grass, dunes, then beaches. They were absolutely covered with litter after last weekend's outing of people coming out of lockdown and disobeying their social distancing rules. I mean, it's just that there were so many people there. So it seems that what we have is it's almost like end of term frenzy. Do you remember coming out of term at school?
I don't remember littering the place.
Mark and I were in the same school, although he wasn't a businessman and I most certainly wasn't a clergyman at that point. But we did experience end of term together, and although we didn't see littering, I saw people littering and having that sort of now it's time to party feel to people generally. Obviously not to us because we're just very, very boring. But that sort of, I suppose you might call it de-mob happy attitude. When people come out of the army, particularly when it's been the end of the war and they're being demobilised, suddenly they find it difficult to be sensible, to be restrained, because they're just feeling happy and being able to get out of lockdown and be in the sun. I think that's part of it. That's part of it. At any rate,
Clergyman Pete, I'm sure that there are many of our listeners listening to this podcast who are saying, "Hold on, now just a minute." Now, bearing in mind we have COVID-19, it's still prevalent throughout the United Kingdom, as it is throughout many other countries. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to imagine what's in the minds of Britain, and I'm sort of imagining this scenario at home. Oh, we can now go out, Daphne. Let's go to the beach, drive hundreds of miles, leave our children scattered all over the place, defecating, leaving the rubbish and everybody else in a mess, and then wandering all the way back home thinking that we should be proud of ourselves. What is going on in their minds? I mean,
well, almost certainly that. I think you captured it. Yeah.
Please keep your distance. Now, here's an example. I thought this was a valid little tweet by a spokesperson from Visit Cardiff Bay, and tweeted, "Littering is not acceptable," while others blasted people for leaving it behind. Now, the council spokesperson said that they were wanting people to effectively abide by the lockdown laws of keeping 2 meters apart, accepting that actually there will be certain situations where perhaps that wouldn't always be possible, but
Sure.
essentially stay away. I think the point here is that whilst we know that we are going into a phase where we are beginning to get more and more back into the community, you get into the shops, back into society, what we saw and we're still seeing this because of the hot weather, is thousands, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people en masse abandoning their cars on double yellow lines. For our foreign sort of international listeners, that's where you're not
where
meant
you
to
shouldn't
park.
park. Yes, exactly.
Even on red lines, which I dare I say is actually even more critical. That's
You
meant to
even
be
more shouldn't park.
exactly. Abandoning them on roundabouts. Now, I know our American friends don't have many roundabouts in their places, but yes, we love little roundabouts.
Oh, love them. Can't get enough of them.
And the point here is, it's as though the mad dogs and Englishmen have gone out of the midday sun.
Yes, as the old song goes.
As the old song goes.
Good old Noel Coward.
Good old Noel Coward, yes. And he would certainly, if he was to come back, think, well, there you go, I proved my point with my song. The point here is, should it now, and this is my question now, from a commercial point of view, that I'm going to come from it from that perspective.
Sure.
This is costing councils
you're the businessman.
Tens of thousands of pounds. Now, the irony is, I do believe that in many cases, many councils have earned a lot of money from actually issuing parking fines for people parking in the wrong places.
Sure. Yeah.
However, it doesn't compensate for the environmental risk or even the inconvenience to the communities, those residents who have to put up with unruly visitors coming to their particular community and making a mess of the place. So is it more a case that actually we should suggest that we're going to heavily fine people? Maybe we say, look, if you come and you are guilty of leaving rubbish and making a mess everywhere, you're going to get a fine of, say, £1,000 or more. That might keep people away. Well, I'm trying to understand why people would go there, knowing that there are no toilets available, so the public toilets aren't open.
Oh, yeah.
So that means, and I don't know whether people, when I'm just going back to my family scenario where Daphne and Rodney are tootling down the motorway, going to Bournemouth.
Yes, I can see it now. I can picture it now. Yes.
We filled up the children with Coca-Cola.
Yes.
We've eaten our buns. Yes. We're now going to consume all the ice cream in the world and expect to go for a whole day without exploding.
Yes. Well, the thing is, I think...
What's going on in people's minds?
Yes. I'm pleased that you're vastly amused by your own joke. But, I think that it won't last, is my first answer.
Will tell you it won't.
Not the ice cream, I mean, or the Coke. What I mean is that this demob feeling won't last as people come out of hibernation. Then, of course, there's going to be that extra exuberance, which is misplaced because, of course, they're spreading disease. So just briefly, spreading disease, it's not so likely that you're going to catch COVID-19. If you are outside, it's very difficult to catch it like that because obviously it dissipates. But the one time when you could possibly do that is if you're sunbathing on a beach next to someone. You're spending a lot of time next to someone.
Exactly.
So it is a stupid idea. But walking past someone, say on the way to the beach, very unlikely. But the thing about this is these ditching of litter spreads other diseases. COVID-19 isn't the only disease in town. And I think this is important to recognise. We've got to keep up our fight against other diseases. And actually, leaving litter around is just a bad idea anyway. Yes, it looks terrible, but it also spreads disease, particularly if you're leaving food packaging around. Eventually, you're going to have bugs growing on them, and it's not a good thing to do. Kids playing around in the sand there, they don't want to have rubbish mixed in with it. It's not good. And then you touch it, you put your hand to your mouth, and hey presto, you've caught those bugs. So not just COVID-19 would be one thing I would say, but just going back to the idea of what do we do to dissuade people from doing this. I think that there is the public information thing because the government has been very, very successful in its campaign to change behaviour. And it's interesting that education campaigns if done, with significant thought done to the messaging, can be very effective. And the government has scared the living daylights out of people by its insistence that we need to stay inside. However, I think that coming to the end of the period when we're spending most of our time inside, many people in the country anyway, coming to the end of that, it has two effects. One is the person who then won't venture out still because they're still being scared. It's been too effective. Or because of the restrictions, you have this feeling that I've been talking about before, that you suddenly want to break out and just do something. Hang it all, Daphne, let's go down to the beach, that sort of thing.
Yes.
You'll really want to get down there.
So you know Daphne as well, then?
Yes. Well, she gets about a bit. But, I think that it's not the majority of people. It's a lot of people, or too many people. But
it's too many, yes.
That's the point I'm making. It's not the majority of people. It's certain people who have reacted in that way, mixed in with some people who are just thinking, well, rules aren't for me anyway. So for some of those people, a fine would put them off. But a sort of a big push in public information wise would be good. And I think that the government does have to, use its bully pulpit, as it's sometimes called, being able to make its voice heard and tell people not to do it. And maybe, in the end, they'd have to close the beaches, if only for one weekend, just to make a point. But the problem with that approach is, you'd have to heavily police it. So I would prefer education. Yes, fines for littering is also a good idea. I don't see anything more effective though than the messaging, the education system that education program that they've been using. It was very effective, so it could well be effective again, rather than closing the beaches in the first instance, which I don't think they're going to do. I think they are. I think the sort of suggestion I'm giving is what they're going to try and do, but in the end. People are just, some people are just stupid, aren't they? So,
Have we really got to the essence of this?
No, I've got to the heart of the matter now. Yes.
Yes, we have, haven't we? Well, look, I know that now here's another example. You mentioned about education, absolutely, and the police are doing everything they can, certainly to monitor the events that are unfolding. Now, many people will know that actually the United Kingdom isn't the only country going through heat waves. We're certainly continuing to experience that. Southwest Police, for example, have said extra patrols will be taking place in certain areas, and that would they'd like to remind, obviously, the public that COVID-19 legislation remains in place and antisocial behaviour will not be tolerated.
Yeah.
That's good. However, certainly from the point of view of issuing communications, trying to educate, as you say, is important. But no matter how much you try and educate and enforce this, for some reason, a large percentage of the public still seem to flout the rules and ignore the dangers, and seem to put what I'll call their own personal ambitions ahead of not only their own reputations, but also respect for the other members of the public, particularly those who live in coastal areas. Many people will know, for certainly our international listeners who have been to the United Kingdom in the past will know that there are some beautiful coastlines and beaches, and they've got a great reputation across the world. However, certainly what's happening at the moment is that the idea of anyone wanting to come to this country to haplessly unfold something unpleasant as they're building their poo castle would not be really welcome by international visitors. So we know that in the unlocking, we have to be respectful, and I think that probably what I personally believe is that I know that you were saying that about the closing of the beaches is perhaps not always enforceable, but I actually do think, this is just a personal thing and maybe we disagree, but I think that probably the government should have actually closed the beaches. I think it's for two reasons. One, in anticipation of stupid behaviour, which we've already seen.
Yes.
Two,
Yeah.
because of COVID-19. And three, the interesting thing is, and this is the other aspect to it, many council services haven't been geared up ready to be able to support the unlock. So it's just a little bit too early. And so what they've had to do is, just for awareness, is they've had to rely on local residents to help them with the tidy up. Now, whilst that's absolutely commendable that they've done it, it's not sustainable. And so, in my view, I think that whilst we know that perhaps that may mean, folks, that we may not have to enjoy the British summer on British beaches in 2020, but I'd rather that people all came back in 2021 alive, healthy, and respectful of the fact
I agree.
that we should be in a community that is better equipped to serve.
Yeah, just a little bit of pushback. I don't necessarily disagree, but this is an alternative point of view. I agree that in the first instance, you may have had spread of the disease if you're go along with the view that COVID-19, this coronavirus is still very much present and there's a big danger. Then you don't want these sort of large gatherings, and we've gone and had them. So yeah, that was a problem. But I've got an image in front of me now, which for those listening on podcast, if you go to the show notes, it's the image for this particular episode will have this image there. Or if you're watching via the website called thevirtualvicar.com, which some of you will be watching on, then there'll be a larger version there. And what it is a picture of Brighton Beach.
Yes.
And one on the 26th and one on the 27th. And the picture on the 26th has it absolutely packed with people. And it's quite sparsely populated, although there are people there the next day. It is slightly cloudier, but it was still a warm day. So is it just because of the brightness? Well, in between those two occasions, Matt Hancock told people not to go. So it may be that it is having some effect. Just one instance, and there were other factors, so it's difficult to tell. But the other thing that I would say is this is not really a pushback about how you stop people going to the beaches and the closure of the beaches. It's about the clean-up, and that I'm really in favour of local community groups helping to clean up. I know that we're not in that position yet, but I think if you have local people looking after the local area, you'd end up with much better kept areas than having a council doing it. But I think that needs a whole reworking of how things are done.
Yes.
But I do know that there are quite a few voluntary organisations already in place. Just some local person say, hey, come to the beach, we'll pick up the plastic that's left. We've covered the problem of plastics in the seas here on Markham Peak before. But I would encourage people to set up such groups. Let's keep our beaches clean. Let's get people together. You're never going to have enough people, actually, to keep the beaches clean, because things wash up on them as well. So it's good to have a good number of people. And especially people who are interested in the environment and maybe have got involved with the green movement. A better use of your time, I would say, would be going to clean up the beaches. Pollution is by far a bigger problem than man-made global warming. So that's just an encouragement. This could be something that comes out of it that can help going forward. We can have cleaner beaches if it's used to bring awareness to this issue. Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking it also from the residents' perspective, and I know that many people would want certainly business to be bolstered in their community. It's been hit hard, and wherever they are in the United Kingdom, we've had great weather, and this normally would have been a bumper period for any particular community. But it is true that the idea that people come and visit and just simply leave a whole pile of detritus everywhere, and you do wonder, don't you, if you think of it from another point of view, if those coastal residents would follow all those mainland residents back home and party on their doorstep, leaving a load of rubbish, whether there would be an objection.
Or bring the rubbish and dump it in their garden.
Beach of rubbish. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, well, maybe they deserve it.
Yes. Well,
Daphne,
listeners,
if you're listening.
Daphne can even tolerate it, or even understand it. Listeners, what do you think? Are you somebody who has suffered this ignominy of having people leave rubbish on your doorstep anywhere, whether you're living on the coast or anywhere else? So, what's your thoughts? Why not log on to markatpete.com and let us know your feelings on this matter? Well, join us again next time for more topical topics with Clergyman Pete and Businessman Mark.